Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and I am back continuing my long playthrough of Resident Evil 2's remake. And we are going to be trying to get the main character Claire Redfield out of the zombie-infested Raccoon City. Previously, she was stuck in the city's police station, but we managed to open up a secret passageway in that station. We believed that was going to be a safe path out of the city, but unfortunately it only took us to a locked door in the sewers and a chemical plant. Inside the chemical plant, I ended up encountering and stabbing my way to victory against the very first boss of the game. After that, we met our companion character Sherry and found the best way out of the police station is actually going to be just going through the parking garage. The only problem is the shutter door is closed and we need a key card or a badge in order to open up that garage door gate. Before we could really begin searching for that key card, though, another character appeared. His name is Chief Irons. And it turns out this police chief is corrupt and he ends up taking Sherry hostage for reasons that we still have to unravel. Now, there was nothing we could do to stop Chief Irons in the moment, so we ended up just picking up the pendant that Sherry dropped on the ground, and then we frantically went out and found a badge inside the police station. But of course, we did not have an easy time doing that because we encountered another boss character by the name of Mr. X. We had to run away from him, and he chased us all around the police station until we did eventually find that parking garage badge. Now, that badge was inside of Chief Irons' office, and whenever we picked it up, we got a phone call from Chief Irons. That is where we conclude the previous episode with that ominous phone call. And we are picking things back up by checking out the rest of that cutscene, seeing how the rest of that phone conversation went, and we will be experiencing a character change to Sherry. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started and see if we can end up saving Sherry.
Hello?
Good to see you again, Claire. We've got unfinished business.
Where's that?
In the neighborhood. You'll find it.
Sherry all right?
For now.
I swear, you bastard, if you hurt her...
Stupid kid. If you just hadn't dropped that fucking thing, I could let you go.
Don't worry, Sherry. It'll be all over soon.
There has to be a way out of here.
Alright, it's time for a new character. We are switching to the companion character for Claire, and that's going to be Sherry. Now, we're trying to pilot her to escape this room, and there's actually an achievement for it if you manage to escape the room in 60 seconds or less. So I'm timing myself here just to see if I can kind of pull it off on the fly. To save yourself a second or two, go ahead and pick up the doll and then run right over to the blocks. Go ahead and examine the blocks. They'll take you into your menu, examine the doll. You'll find there's a block in the back of it. Mash in the X button or whatever it is for your controller, and it'll just immediately put it into the blocks. And you can start flipping them in order to get the patterns right. Sometimes I'll examine an item in order to find what's hidden inside of it before I actually reach the part of the puzzle it's needed for, but in this case, the item and the puzzle are right next to each other, so opening the menu twice is just wasting time. Granted, the wasted time is only like 2 seconds, but still. And then once the block puzzle is over with, it opens up, it gives you a pair of scissors, and then you can go cut the tape holding up the cardboard over a hole in the wall.
What is this?
Now, Sherry, I really don't feel like you need a pair of scissors to do that, but you know what, at least we're out of there. And if I counted right from the moment we started controlling Sherry to the point that we managed to escape into the medical room, that took about 57 seconds. Now, I already have the achievement for escaping there in less than a minute, so it doesn't really pop in the corner of the screen, so I don't know for sure, but it looks like I managed to get that under 60 seconds, so awesome. By far the biggest time killer is just memorizing the pattern for that puzzle. But once you have that down, you can kind of just fly through it. Alright, we have our first journal entry within this place that was holding Sherry, and the journal is going to be titled Sally's Diary. It is dated January 4. Wednesdays are perfectly great because everyone gets snacks and ice cream. I hate the last place I was at. The teachers were all meanies. It was just study, 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 and there wasn't no ice cream. I love, love, love it here. Next page is dated January 10. There was an important rule made today. Everyone must write a diary, get health checkups, and we ain't allowed outside by ourselves. It's good we don't have to go to school. I don't want to go and get picked on for my clothes. Especially not by the guy who used to wear them. Alright, the next entry is on January 16. The orphanage director is coming today, so I'm going to have to wear my favoriteest checkered blue outfit. The director is tall, the director has a mustache, the director is a policeman. And that's where Sally's diary ends, so okay. We now know that we're inside an orphanage, and apparently the director, based on the description that Sally gave us, is Chief Irons. And some of the more unusual aspects of that diary feature the regular health checkups and also the fact that they no longer had to start going to school despite being children. Add that to not being allowed outside by themselves, and it sounds like they were kind of being quarantined. And this being an orphanage would make a lot of sense out of all the kid stuff on the walls and on the toys and all the other stuff around here. Now, on that note, it's worth mentioning that we're going to have some rapid fire journal entries here. And that's just because there are several in this orphanage. The game throws a lot of malevolent background history at us just for this building really quickly. And the journals are the only places that really mention what the history is. And I want to make sure I include it because it seems pretty interesting and also adds a lot of context to what kind of building this is, what was going on here, which makes a really bleak situation where Sherry was abducted even darker. But as bad as her captive situation is, we're going to continue piloting Sherry and turning her into a perfect escape artist.
That must be the door out of here.
Oh, if only getting out of here was that easy.
Darn it, I need the key.
Alright, next step is to find the key, but first let's check out Tom's diary. The first date listed is February 5. It's been 2 months since I got that letter to Oliver, and all I've gotten back is nada. Zip. Then again, they are all like that once they get adopted. Bet he's living like a king in some fancy folks' home and forgotten all about us. Really thought Oliver was different, that he'd be my friend for life. Guess I'm just a fool. Next up is February 8. Anne sat all the little kids down and told them a story today. She said all the kids that get adopted are turned into food for the boogeymen. That's why no one hears from them ever again. Not sure where she gets her ideas from, but she sure got the mind for writing trashy horror novels. Next up is February 13. There's something weird going on around here, and it's not just because of Anne's stories. Don't get me wrong, I've been in worse places, and this place is funded by some big drug company. But why can't we call people or go outside? Why are there so many doctors around? What's with these shots every day? It's almost like we're... Next up is February 14. I'm getting adopted. Me. Most people go for younger kids, so I figured I was too old, but I can't say I'm not a little happy. Who am I kidding? I'm totally psyched. I say goodbye to this place on the 20th. I'm going to try my best to be a good son, someone my new mom and pop can be proud of. Next up is February 19. Oliver came back in the middle of the night, all messed up screaming help me and stuff. Didn't even recognize him at first. His face was all peeling and melted off. He's with the teachers and the doctors now. It's just a skin thing, they say. He'll get better soon, and then we can go on adventures together again. And that is where Tom's diary ends. So on top of Chief Irons being the director, we know it's being funded by a big drug company, which we already know the bad guys of Resident Evil are Umbrella, a big drug company. And considering one of the children that was adopted, supposedly, somehow managed to find his way back and was suffering under symptoms kind of similar to what we've been seeing from the infected, with skin rotting and such, beginning to paint a picture that maybe the orphanage was being used for testing purposes, especially since the kids weren't allowed to make contact with anyone on the outside, and they were being seen by doctors regularly.
Oh no, it's him.
All right, creepy opera music. Be careful about that, Chief Irons. It's kind of Professor Pig's thing. All right, last diary as Sherry. This one's titled Blank's Diary. If you're reading this, go call police. Boogeyman's here, eating everybody. Many bark boogeyman's here. Help me, Mommy. So we don't get the name of the author of that diary, but that broken style of English is very familiar to what we saw in the very first Resident Evil remake with Lisa Trevor and her mother. And those were people whose minds were progressively deteriorating the more they were suffering from the infection, causing what they wrote to be nearly illegible. And from this anonymous author, we got to learn that the inhabitants of the orphanage started to eat each other, and the author articulated it the same way that Anne's story told it, that it was the boogeymen who were eating the children after they were adopted. So the author described it just like that to the best of their ability. So yeah, the kids were being tested upon, and eventually there was an outbreak within the orphanage. The kids were clearly being targeted specifically because they didn't have any parents and no one would know if they ever went missing. And they would likely just comply with whatever the orphanage director was saying because they wanted the opportunity of eventually finding their own family and didn't want to be shunned away from potential parents, all because they were not listening about the medical treatments that they were receiving. So that's pretty messed up, but we have something else kind of messed up over here. And over here we have the body of Catherine Warren, the mayor's daughter. So seeing this and thinking back to Chief Iron's taxidermy log, he was definitely not talking about a pig. It's unfortunate for her, but this is not the last we'll be seeing Catherine. We'll see her again in the Ghost Survivors mode. But alright, back on track, let's get the key.
Where you going, Sherry? I told you to stay put. You need to learn to listen.
Leave me alone. Just please.
Time to teach some manners. Ah! Ah! You little bitch! You're gonna pay for this! Ah, you little shit! You hear?
Okay, forget about what I said about Professor Pig. Instead, Chief Irons is ripping off Two-Face.
You are gonna be so fucking sorry!
Go away!
So, okay, the next portion of Sherry's segment is going to be focused mostly around evading and hiding.
Help! Somebody, please!
You stupid bitch! That's a dead end!
As you can imagine, with Sherry being a small child, her segment is not going to be very combat focused, so Sherry has to channel all of the energy of Solid Snake because if she is caught a single time, it counts as a death. So this is all going to be about stealth and zero combat. And this may not necessarily be the best method, but I will go over my step-by-step process for getting out of this nursery.
It's all over now! Doors locked!
You want to start in this position, and eventually he's going to come over to these shelves, and you want to move opposite him so he does not see you.
Where are you? Show yourself! I know you're in here! The longer it takes me to find you, the worse it's gonna be!
Stop on the opposite side and wait for him to move the crib that was previously blocking your path. I always stop in this corner. Eventually he's going to go back towards the door, and that's where you once again want to move opposite him to the other side of that shelf so he does not see you.
Bitch has gotta be here somewhere. Oh, God damn it!
When Chief Irons cries out in pain, that's when I move to the back of the room and I stop in this position. He will recover, and he'll begin surveying the room with the flashlight again. We want to wait until he is looking back at the shelves where we were hiding at previously, and then we're going to move to this point. And then Chief Irons is going to point his flashlight in the direction that we eventually need to go. Shortly after that, he moves the flashlight away from that direction, and once he's no longer looking on that side of the room, we need to move.
Bitch.
No more, please.
Then we stop behind this desk.
This is your last fucking chance! Show yourself! Now!
Do not move, no matter how close he gets.
Oh, it burns!
Okay, even though he was right next to us, he had his eyes clenched shut due to the pain that he was in, and now we can grab the keys and get the hell out of here.
Fuck is my key? I see you.
Okay, no more sneaking around, it's just time to bail. And of course, he locked basically every single door between us and the exit.
Hurry.
Alright, let's try this again.
What? Won't open.
Nice try, Sherry.
And of course, on top of the doors being locked and requiring a key, he also chained them shut, so I guess that leaves only one more option.
I'm coming in, Sherry! Get over here, you little bitch.
Okay, this went from Metal Gear Solid to The Shining. Come on, Sherry, just a little bit further.
Game is over. Now you're in trouble.
Let me go!
to see you again, Claire. We've got unfinished business.
What are you talking about?
Don't waste my fucking time! Bring me the pendant, or Sherry dies.
Pendant? What do you need it for?
Do you want the girl to die?
Fine. Where are you?
The orphanage.
The orphanage? Where is that?
In the neighborhood. You'll find it.
Is Sherry all right?
For now.
I swear, you bastard, if you hurt her... Are you serious? Damn it! Just you wait, asshole!
And now we are back in control of Claire. And it is time to go find Sherry and save her too, since she's in a pretty bad spot. Fortunately, we know exactly which room she is in because we were controlling her previously, so that should not be very hard to do. I'm just going to do a quick bit of inventory management before we hit the road. And then I'm going to be making my escape from the police station by going through the parking garage. And along the way, I'll make sure to pick up some items I could not pick up earlier due to my lack of inventory space. That's mostly going to include the stock for the grenade launcher, but I think there's also some gunpowder down there that I did not get previously. After that, we are free to leave the parking garage, and then we enter a part of the game that I really enjoy. And the reason I enjoy it so much is because it's a really cool callback to an area of the game from the original Resident Evil 2 that I thought was originally cut in the remake because I had not seen it for so long. Now, back in the original Resident Evil 2, whenever you started off in the game, you spent more time on the streets of Raccoon City before you reached the police department than you do in the remake. In the remake, it's a pretty short experience being on the streets. In the original, you had to go through some obstacles in order to reach that police station.
You again?
Now as we make our escape from the Raccoon City police station, we're going to be running into those obstacles again as we egress as opposed to trying to get to the station to begin with. And now being included amongst those obstacles for the very first time is Mr. X making his reappearance and chasing us out of the parking garage. So yeah, we're about to see some of the old obstacles and scenery from the original game's intro. Now some of those obstacles would include Kendo's gun shop, which you can see in the background at the very end of the street on the left. But then there are more, like passing through a basketball court, passing through a bus that was the only way of getting past a blockade. Alright, the zombies knocked down the gate, so I just need to make a big circle so I avoid Mr. X and give those zombies time to get out of the doorway. And then I should be able to pass through without taking any damage or really risking anything. Like, there are a good amount of areas on your way to the police station. And whenever I first picked up this game, I played as Leon first. And Leon has access to Kendo's gun shop, but none of the rest of those things. So I kind of thought most of that was just cut out. And then I played as Claire, and then I found out all the rest of those things were not excluded from this remake. So yeah, they were not cut from the original game, they were just relocated in the remake. And all those areas can be accessed at this point in the game. Well, with the exception of Kendo's gun shop, that is a Leon exclusive. And here we are. We get more of the streets, we get the basketball court, and we get the bus. The thing is, back in the original game, we only had to navigate through zombies. Here in the remake, however, they decided to go ahead and change that up a little bit. They gave us zombies, sure, but they also gave us a bunch of zombie dogs. So that's new. Now, I do have a tactic for the zombie dogs that I will do whenever trying to run from them as opposed to trying to fight them. It's very rare that I ever actually try to fight a zombie dog in this game. Now, it's not 100% successful, but the zombie dogs do tend to miss me a little bit more whenever I'm running close to a wall or a car. That's a little bit tricky to do here with Claire because it's a really open area where you are running from the dogs. Ironically, whenever Leon goes against the dogs, it's in a much more closed-in area, which sounds like it would be worse. But it's actually easier to dodge the dogs because you can more easily hug a wall, and they seem to have a little bit of trouble hitting you when you do that. Like, it's not a 100% success rate or anything like that. They will occasionally still hit you, but at least in my experience, it seems like it happens way less. So if I can help it, I will always end up hugging a wall or a car on the right side of the screen. In my experience, going to the left ends up getting you bitten. In fact, I'm pretty sure I make that mistake here as I'm passing through the streets as well. I do end up taking some damage from these dogs. But there is the orphanage, so we have made it. So yeah, it's a really cool callback area. There's nothing too elaborate there with the gameplay, but it's just really cool to see those areas again. And as we enter the orphanage, I'm going to actually break away to entirely different gameplay than from my original playthrough that you've been seeing this entire time. This is going to be a brief segment that I insert some gameplay from a different playthrough. The reason I am doing this is because I missed something in my actual main playthrough that you're going to be seeing the footage for pretty much everything else. And since I missed something, I had to go back for it because I wanted to include it in these videos. And that required a separate playthrough's gameplay because you only visit the orphanage with Claire once. And after you leave, you can never return to the orphanage again. It is one of the few point of no return locations in this game. So I had to resort to this, but we will be returning to my original gameplay footage very shortly. This will just be a couple of minutes of a detour. Now, the thing I missed was a journal, and it is the conclusion to the nefarious story of what was occurring at the orphanage. And it did not seem right to leave that out considering we read all the other journals. Now, the journal I missed is in the bathroom of the nursery where Chief Irons was trying to wash off the chemicals that were on his face. And you can only enter that bathroom and get that journal as Claire. Sherry does not have access to it. So if you rush to Sherry's rescue as soon as you get to the orphanage, like I assume a normal human being would instantly do, and if you did not just wander around and say to yourself, you know what, that child who was abducted, I'm pretty sure she's going to be okay on her own. If you don't do that, you just kind of miss the journal. So yeah, we are now going out of our way to go to the nursery and the orphanage, which is where we know that Sherry is not at, just so we can get this journal. Alright, and this one is titled Letter from the Director. Regarding the incident in question, I am glad to report that it has all been taken care of. On February 19, test subject 628 escaped from the lab and broke into our facility. 628 was originally from this facility's candidate pool and apparently returned in the hope of seeking help. 628 was quickly detained by our staff, as 628 was undergoing one of the lab's chemical trials. There was the distinct possibility that he had brought the virus with him, so we disposed of all of our test subject candidates as a precaution. Their speedy disposal was conducted by the security team, to whom I would like to extend my thanks. As for our neighbors, we told them that due to the building's dilapidated state, we have temporarily moved all of the children to a different orphanage for their safety. As to the future of this facility, once it has been fully decontaminated, I plan to resume securing more test candidates. So okay, that is the conclusion to the orphanage story and piecing all of the journals together. We now know with absolute certainty that all the orphans at the orphanage were being tested on by Umbrella, being given samples of the virus, and whenever a child was selected for that process, all the other kids at the orphanage were just told that they were adopted. And considering in Tom's diary he wrote that he was told he was being adopted, it is safe to assume had he lived long enough, he would have been the very next test subject. And in all reality, pretty much none of them were surviving any of the trial runs because they all got zombified. And eventually, Subject 628, who we know from the journals was Oliver, managed to escape and return back to the orphanage. But in doing so, contaminated everything and then spread the virus to all the other kids. And then following that, based on what we just saw in that journal, as well as the journal from the anonymous author, we know that the children began eating each other and the staff members. So Umbrella's security team was called in to clean everything up since there was an outbreak within the orphanage. And unfortunately for any children who still somehow managed to survive the outbreak, they were then disposed of and killed by the security team, and then the security team also took care of all the zombies, which would explain some of the gravestones at the very front of the orphanage. And then, as if killing everyone at the orphanage wasn't bad enough, Chief Irons has no intention of stopping. As he put it, he wants more test subjects. He wants to bring in more orphans so they can be tested on too. So yeah, the cute little building for kids without parents is one of the biggest nightmares I could possibly think of in the Resident Evil world, like geez. Although it did make for a pretty good read.
Hello? I have the pendant!
Your fault.
What?
It took too long.
What happened? Oh, God. Get off me! Oh, my God! Jesus Christ!
Oh, hello my baby, hello my honey, hello my ragtime gal. Yep, Chief Irons, you definitely deserved that one, if not worse. So as you can tell, we're back to the original playthrough, and there will not be any other breakaways to other playthroughs from this point forward. It's just going to be this one. And we're back on track to save Sherry, but I am going to go silent for just a moment as there are some cutscenes and some traveling dialogue up ahead.
Sherry! Where are you?
Claire!
Sherry? I'll be right there! Go! Sherry, come on!
Daddy?
What'd you say?
Daddy, no! Claire, are you all right? Can you hear me? Claire? Claire, you have to get up. He's going to get us. Wake up! Wake up!
Wake up. Wake up. Open your eyes. Hold still. Not infected.
Sherry? Where's Sherry?
Sherry's fine.
Do you know Sherry?
It's an impressive display of strength.
What happened to her?
We have to assess the situation.
Who are you? I'm Claire.
I didn't foresee this.
Excuse me. Where is she? Hello?
What?
Where's
Oh,
she?
Annette. Tell me, what happened to William?
I don't know. Who's that?
The creature responsible for this.
What? Can you help me find Sherry?
Seems to be evolving much faster than expected.
Where are you going?
Look, I don't have time to play 20 questions. Everything's under control.
I need to find Sherry.
My daughter is not your concern.
Alright, we have some big updates. Mr. X is now dead. Sherry's father is the monster we fought earlier, and we just met Sherry's mom, and she's
Where did Sherry go?
a pretty disconnected scientist. Mostly wanting to analyze the physical feats of the monster William.
Sherry's daughter?
Speaking of William, she's not all that surprised that he has turned into a monster, mostly just noting that he is transforming a little bit faster than she expected. Besides that, though, she seems really familiar with this process. More on that later. As I am doing some inventory management, I'll go ahead and narrate the report that I just read, which is going to shed some light a little bit on the creature that we just faced off against, as well as the chest burster that we saw come out of Chief Irons. And it is titled Report About G. The G virus clinical trial will be entering its final phase very soon. Before G, the new creature that will surpass humans, is born, allow me to predict a few things about its biology and biological functions. Intelligence. The subject's intelligence will begin to drop immediately, with their linguistic abilities disappearing within a matter of days. Finally, they will lose their capacity to reason and their humanity. G will be a creature of pure instinct, driven by a need to survive and reproduce. Physical abilities. Due to its unusual accelerated cell division, evolution,
Sherry? Can you hear me?
it will be highly adaptable to any environment. Furthermore, with its amazing ability to repair itself through regeneration, it will be extremely difficult to completely kill it with any conventional small fire power.
Now I'm gonna smell like shit. Literally.
Reproductive behavior. G's most remarkable feature will be its intense desire to reproduce. It will instinctively search out humans with DNA that closely matches its own and implant an embryo in them. But the chances of success are very low, and if the DNA is not a close enough match, an underdeveloped G creature will be produced. I suppose the only ones who might be a close enough match would be any biological children to the subject, though.
Cable car. Here?
So yeah, that clues us in that the creature William is infected with the G virus. We got to see the whole embryo implanting thing with Chief Irons, which is basically just, the face hugger and chest burster treatment from Aliens. And that chest burster would be the infant version of the underdeveloped G creature. And considering he's looking for a very close biological match to create another monster, that would make some sense out of why he is chasing Sherry around. Because as his daughter, she would probably be a match. And I nearly get killed here because as Claire there are zombies in this room, but as Leon there are not, and I kind of forgot that I was playing as Claire there, so I kind of just got wrecked. Fortunately, I do survive.
What is this?
Sherry, I told you, I cannot leave here until my work is done.
That's what you always say. Sherry?
Why didn't you stay in the house? It was safe there.
Hey, Sherry! I was scared. Those things were everywhere, and...
You should have called the police. That's what we taught you.
I did, but nobody came, and you didn't answer your phone, so...
Sherry, I don't have time for this.
Oh no. Sherry! Sherry, I'm coming! Hold on, Sherry. I'll be right there.
Okay, something is seriously wrong with Sherry and we need to go help her, but first let's go ahead and read this pamphlet over here, because it's clearly the most important thing. And the pamphlet is titled Sewers Company Pamphlet. Greeting from the CEO. Thank you for your interest in Knight's Construction Company. Over the past 20 years, we have had the honor to work on the sewer systems of our country's greatest cities, all while never losing sight of our two core principles of playfulness and superior industrial design. At KCC, we believe that just because our work is subterranean doesn't mean our designs have to be subpar. More refined than a queen, more polished than a knight, and more pleasant than a pawn. Our work is sure to bring great victory to everyone involved. May we all meet on the field someday? Signed, Knight's Construction Company CEO. World Chess Alliance Honorary Member, Raccoon Chess Club Honorary Advisor, and Fisher Chess Lovers Guild Honorary Director, R.B. Fisher. Okay, so the people involved with the construction company for the sewers were definitely chestnuts. Well, chess the game nuts, not chestnuts. You get it. And that's going to come into play with our next puzzle, because we saw the panels a moment ago, and I also read a second document which indicates that those panels need plugs that are designed after chess pieces, and they have to be put into the appropriate panel corresponding with the piece. So the knight plug needs to go into the knight panel, the queen plug needs to go into the queen panel, so on and so on. And we have to find those plugs, and then we have to figure out what the order is. So let the sewer search begin. And to kick off that search, you probably saw me deposit pretty much every single item that I had in my inventory, minus one gun and some ammo. And it does not need to be that extreme, but I will say if you're trying to get through the sewers really quickly and not do multiple trips, you are going to need a bunch of inventory space. Because we have to find 3 plugs, we are going to need a unique handle to open certain doors, and then on top of that, we're going to encounter a weapon which takes up 2 inventory slots. And there are also some healing items along the way, which we definitely want just in case things go bad. And there are also a couple of other items along the way too that we want, especially since it's a long playthrough. But yeah, if you're trying to cut down on your time in the sewers, you need to start off with basically barely anything in your inventory, just only the essentials. Whenever I get around to the playthroughs of my S Plus runs, I will go over what exactly I did to minimize the amount of items that I took into the sewers, so I only had to do 1 trip. It's not going to be super important here since it's a long playthrough and I'm not really worried about time, but yeah, trying to reduce time in here can be a little bit tricky.
ID wristband required for cable car entry.
And you're definitely going to be going for kind of a minimalist approach. Granted, that's pretty much always going to be the case whenever you're trying to beat the game in as little time as possible, but I feel like it's especially true here. Anyway, I grabbed that unique handle. I read a document which told me where to find a safe combination, which I'm heading that direction now. Turns out the combination is written on the side of the safe, which you can see here. And also we confirmed that we cannot go into the cable car until we have a specific wristband, so we're going to be looking for that as well. And inside of that safe is going to be a reinforced frame for the SLS-60, which is Claire's default revolver. And that allows us to also use some higher powered rounds in combination with just our standard 9mm. Honestly, it's not that useful in my opinion, or at least I never use it, but well, okay, at least we have that capability now. Oh, and I did not mention it earlier, but I also upgraded the grenade launcher. I used that new stock that we found in the parking garage, and then added that to the grenade launcher, which should make its grenade shots a lot more accurate. So you probably noticed I just had a healing item in my inventory for a really long time, but I was not doing anything with it. Well, I was deliberately waiting to use it to the last possible moment right before my very first threat in the sewers. And the reason for that being it was a red-blue-green combination herb. And when you have all 3 colors combined like that, Not only does it heal you to your max health, but it also gives you some defensive properties. Those defensive properties include some resistance to damage, but also an immunity to poison, which is going to be super handy here in a moment because we are going to be facing some poison enemies. And not having to worry about that status condition is going to be very useful. Now, granted, the defensive buffs, the slight resistance to damage, the poison immunity, those are temporary, so we're going to have to move pretty quick after having used that herb. And ideally, because of that, we would have wanted to wait to the last possible moment to use that combination herb. Like, actually, if we just got attacked and poisoned, that would be the perfect time because it would get rid of the poison, but then keep us immune for the foreseeable future. But unfortunately, I was already on critical health, and I really could not afford to risk it. Still, anything that adds to our survivability is definitely a good thing, and we want that. And speaking of things that we want, I went ahead and picked up a grenade that was hidden here in the sewers. Now, it is just one grenade, but it is probably one of the most important items to get down here if you want to get through the sewers in a quick manner and without taking too much damage. I'll point out why whenever we get to the point to where it's relevant, but yeah, make sure you grab that. Unless you're just really good at dodging the enemies that you're going to encounter down here. Personally, I'm not, so I'll take any opportunity I can get to just stun them and run by them without having to try and judge their attacks, and the grenade is perfect for that. Now, behind this door and in the direction I'm going to be going in is going to be the way that you get two of the chess piece panel parts. It's going to be the piece for the king and the piece for the queen. Besides those essential items to get back to Sherry and save her, there's also going to be a more traditional key over here as well. It is going to be a sewer maintenance key, and that's going to open up some of the doors down here in the sewers, which have some useful things in them, but most importantly, it's going to open up a door that's going to allow us to return to the police station. And while there's not too much left to do at the police station, there are some hidden items and some things I skipped over previously that we need to collect in order to get as many of the weapons-related items as we can. So after I wrap up getting all the chess pieces that we need, I'm going to make a return to the police station and see what we can find. Alright, no more detouring. It's time to crawl down to the sewers and go through a labyrinth of gunk I can't even begin to describe.
Okay. This place is creepy.
Alright, we got another chest-bursting infant underdeveloped G creature. The thing is, here in this labyrinth, we're finally going to be introduced to what an adult version of one of those creatures looks like. And we see the first of them over here, mostly submerged. And if we shoot the part that's exposed, it'll pop up surprised and be a little bit stunned, and that should give us just enough time to run past it. And oh crap, I did not time that right at all. And I should not have used that grenade just then. Not to be too pessimistic, but I think I'm going to end up resetting here. The combination herb would have saved us from poisoning, so it may have actually been better just to take the poison rather than use the grenade there, because that second G creature, that's who the grenade was intended for. So you shoot the first one, you run past the first one, you throw the grenade at the second one, it stuns the second one, and then you run straight to the door that we need to get to. There will be a third one that pops out, but you can run past it because it's stuck in its animation coming out of a sewer pipe. That is the ideal scenario, and this is not the ideal scenario. And my immunity just ran out, and that really sucks. Because now I'm poisoned and I'm progressively losing health the more I move, or at least the more time passes by, something along those lines. And that being said, one more hit's gonna kill me, and I'm moving so slow I'm pretty sure they can catch up to me, or Well, that's really lucky. I did not think I was going to make it over here before one of them smacked me to death, but okay, I'm not out of the woods yet because I actually don't know how poison works fully. It's so rare that I'm poisoned without something to get rid of the poison. I know it reduces your health as time passes by or as you move, but can that kill you, or does that just reduce you down to 1 health essentially, and then the next thing that hits you kills you? I mean, I don't know, but potentially I'm in a race against time here to go find a blue herb and heal myself of the poison, and well, I just got to the blue herb, so I guess I'm gonna be alright, but I'm kinda curious if I was potentially in a near-death scenario there with the poison, or if there was no risk at all. I have no idea. Well, that crisis is mostly over, but I did just have to use that blue-green-red herb combination I got at the last possible moment to cure my health and the poison. So the buffs are back on. I'm immune to poison again, but the timer is running out on that immunity, so I'm trying to get through this puzzle as quickly as I can, because I have to backtrack through those creatures one more time, and I would like to have that immunity to potentially save me if it becomes absolutely necessary, because that could easily be the difference between whether I live or die. Either way, this was a really sloppy run through the labyrinth. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm really amused that somehow I lived through that, but yeah, that could have went a lot better. Anyway, I relocated the plug for the queen. I took it from its original box, put it over here so I could get to the stairs. I killed the zombie that was by the stairs, so that would not be a problem for me later. Then up the stairs, we get the king plug, and removing it closes the door behind you, so you have to jump over the ledge. And then we can use that same king plug to unlock an area where there is a new weapon. That's the wrong way, I need to turn around. And I don't know how important it is going to be for this long playthrough, but I know whenever I'm trying to get the S+ rank, this weapon is super important. So this weapon is the Spark Shot, which is kind of a unique one because it's not something you just point and shoot. Whenever you fire the Spark Shot, there's in a charge up period where you have to hold down the trigger, and once the needle you shoot into your opponent is fully charged, it lets off a massive electrical surge. Now, because of that long startup time, it's really situational when you're going to use this weapon. In a standard playthrough, it's pretty much only going to be useful for 1 or 2 of the bosses. Outside of that, it's not super practical. Although I gained a really big appreciation for this weapon whenever it came to one of the Ghost Survivor modes. Specifically the No Way Out mode, because that one is remarkably stressful and there are certain enemies that can basically only be put down by this weapon consistently. But yeah, in an actual playthrough, it's going to be used very sparingly, if at all at times. The big damage is awesome when you can land it, but that wait time is definitely working against it. Okay, we're going to have to time this very carefully. So I'm waiting on this one to start his diving animation, because whenever he's in that diving animation, he cannot attack you, and you have a brief window of time that you can run away from it. Then we just need to be on the lookout for the other 2. They could pop up at pretty much any time. They're normally right around here. And wow, okay, not a single one popped up after the first one. That's remarkably lucky, and after jumping down, we need to run immediately to this platform over here because there's a new G that charges us, and they cannot hit you when you're not in the water. And then I hop back into the water when it looks like he's still locked into his diving animation, and I actually thought I timed that wrong, but I managed to pull it off without getting hit by him, so yeah, we took 0 damage escaping the labyrinth. And normally that's the most inconsistent part of my game plan. And for some reason, the beginning, which should have been the easiest part, was where I almost died. I guess the game just felt bad for me after how badly I botched my first attempt going through the labyrinth. Now, I do not normally do this, but I am returning to the control room to drop off some items before I progress through the sewers further. Now, normally I do the entire sewer portion to include what I still have to do all in one go. Here, though, I'm breaking it up into 2 parts because this is a long playthrough, not something I'm trying to speedrun. And whenever I go to the next part of the sewer is also when I'm going to be returning to the Raccoon City police station. So since I am taking such a massive detour from my usual route, I want to make sure I have plenty of inventory space and I'm prepared for taking a new route to an old area. And whenever we do go to the other portion of the sewers, we'll be finding the very last chest piece plug that we need to get to the other area and save Sherry. Speaking of which, I'll go ahead and take the pieces I already have and arrange those in the panels. That way, whenever I do return to this control room, all I have to do is put the final plug into the panel, and then we don't have to waste any time on this puzzle. And this puzzle changes depending on which scenario you are playing, but for this scenario specifically, going in order from the panel closest to the door to furthest away, the pattern should be Bishop, Rook, Knight. And then on the opposite wall, going from panel closest to the table to furthest away, the order should be King, Queen, Pawn. There is a sheet of paper on the wall that gives you some clues about some of the positions, and I believe a couple of the panels have pictures on them to show you which pieces go on there. And for all the others, you kind of just have to fill in the blanks. And right now I am finishing up the very last of my inventory management. I'm trying to get as many of the items as I'm going to need for the police station in my inventory right now, so I can kind of just fly through that part. And on that list, I want to make sure I have the police badge, which is going to allow us to get a new part for our submachine gun. I also went ahead and grabbed the film that we still need to develop. And besides that, just to get to the police station, I need the maintenance key and I need that handle that rotates and opens certain doors in the sewers. And besides the doors in the sewers, it also opens one very specific door for the police station. Besides that, though, the healing items and the weapons, well, that's entirely up to you, but that's everything that I should need to get everything that's remaining in the police station. Although we will be picking up one more roll of film on the way to the police station. Oh, and I also went ahead and grabbed the really powerful ammo for our SLS-60. Now, previously I said that those aren't the most useful, but they can do a decent amount of damage to opponents. The only reason I would consider them not super useful is because I don't like any extra kind of ammo just bogging down my inventory spaces. And by there being two different ammo types for the same weapon, that just means two inventory slots are being taken up instead of one. And whenever you pass through here for the first time and you see that G pulling himself out of the pipes, don't worry about that. Just keep running as far away from it as you can, and you should be able to get by it without it causing you any trouble whatsoever. Coming back through here, that might be a slightly different story, but we will see what happens. It kind of varies. But yeah, going back to the unique ammunition for the SLS-60, the ammo itself, though, is pretty powerful and useful if you can manage to fit it into your inventory, and now that I'm thinking about it, that powerful ammunition may have helped me out against the adult G's in the labyrinth had I bothered to take it, which is really funny because I'd just been kind of criticizing that ammunition just prior to going in there and getting completely wrecked by them. So I guess that's kind of ironic. And right now I'm taking out this zombie that was laying on the ground so he does not become an issue for us later. All the gunfire will probably alert the zombies outside the door for this room, but that door is locked so they can't break in here just yet. Although the moment we unlock that door, that will probably be an issue, but we'll deal with that when we get there. Oh, and also in this room, we're going to find another roll of film, the second roll of film that I was talking about earlier. And that second roll of film is going to be very important for us before we return to the police station because it contains the photographs of the hidden locations of items within the police station. And that's really the main reason we're going back to begin with. And with those hidden locations, if you do not have that roll of film and you have not developed it, you cannot access the hidden items, even if you know exactly what locations are on the film. I guess whatever flag in the game makes those items available to you does not activate until you develop the film. And as long as these two zombies keep walking directly towards me, I should be able to use the table as a buffer, circle around, and get to the door without actually having to kill them, and especially without getting trapped by them and being taken out. And I went ahead and grabbed the rook plug because that causes a platform to elevate and prevents a zombie that's on the other side from coming over here, so one less zombie to deal with. And then I run into this extra room before the zombie that was on the ground could fully get back up and then also attack us on our way to this room. So all around, my zombie evasion is finally starting to go pretty good, which is great after having such a terrible time with the G's earlier. And over here is a flyer for a festival with certain letters in the flyer being circled. Now that's going to be the combination for a lock that was in the room where I got completely obliterated by some zombies earlier. That's the room right above the control room. And I also made a reference to how whenever you play as Leon, there are no zombies in that room, but whenever you play as Claire, there are zombies in that room. Yeah, there's also a locker in there with a lock on it. And the combination to open that locker is going to be SZF. I don't intend to go back to that room, but whenever I play as Leon, I'll make sure that I go ahead and open that up and use those letters to open the lock, because it's going to be the same for both him and Claire. The only difference is the locker contents. For Claire, I believe it's submachine gun ammo, and for Leon, I believe it's magnum ammo. And after finding a hidden passageway and a hidden elevator, I rode that all the way to the top, and now we find ourselves at the very bottom of the chemical plant where we fought William Birkin the first time, William Birkin being Sherry's mutated father. And now that we're here, and with the police badge in our inventory, we can also open up a box that we found down here earlier as well. And within it is going to be some weapons parts for the submachine gun. The weapon part we got for the submachine gun is going to be a suppressor. It makes the submachine gun slightly more quiet, which really is not important, but what is important is it also reduces the amount the muzzle raises whenever you fire the weapon. That might come in handy. And after having used that badge to get the submachine gun in the first place and now get that suppressor, there's no longer a use for it, so I went ahead and got rid of it. And now for the first time in a while, we are taking the elevator back up to that hidden office way that we found behind the statue of the goddess earlier in the police station. Now, previously, after we went in there and left Marvin behind, we could not exit out of that office back into the police station because the door is locked behind us. But with that unique handle that we were using to open doors in the sewerway, we can finally open up that passageway behind the statue again. Which means we also get to see Marvin again. Which this is not the first time we could have went and seen Marvin once more. Like the last time we really interacted with Marvin was after we went to go see Leon, and then the helicopter crashed, we briefly spoke to Leon, then we returned, and we would then find him unconscious on the couch. And whenever we were being chased by Mr. X, there was the opportunity to interact with Marvin again, although I did not take it because, well, it's a bit of a high-stress situation, and I feel like successfully evading Mr. X is more important than waking up Marvin. There is no reason to worry, though. No matter how much time passes, the interaction that you can have with Marvin really does not change. Even though plenty of time has passed by, we have not missed out on anything with our old friend Marvin.
Oh God, no. Marvin.
So unsurprisingly, as we all kind of knew it was coming, Marvin did eventually turn into a zombie, and he just remains sitting on that couch until you get close enough for him to reveal that fact. Now that could have happened whenever we were running away from Mr. X, but that just introduces one more obstacle when you're already running from something very threatening, so I did not do it earlier.
I'm sorry.
But now that we have returned to the police station and Mr. X is now deceased and no longer a threat to us, it seemed like the ideal time to just go ahead and do the reveal that Marvin did in fact turn. And then we have the opportunity to put him down because even after death, I'm sure he did not want to be a zombie. And I wanted to make sure that we wrapped up the storyline for Marvin as Claire because it does not really go down the same way whenever you play Scenario 2. Now in Scenario 1, that's pretty much the only time you interact with Marvin, like he talks to you, he helps you, all that good stuff. Yeah, I completely forgot about the zombie and the liquor I left in that storage room after using the C4 earlier in the game, so I'm just going to go a different direction. But yeah, interacting with Marvin is basically a Scenario 1 exclusive. In Scenario 2, you do not get introduced to Marvin until he has already turned into a zombie. It doesn't matter which character you choose, that ends up being the case. So since Claire is my Scenario 1, I needed to make sure I wrapped up everything involving Marvin before I completed her playthrough. Anyway, I should probably explain what I'm doing next in the police station. What I am trying to do is make my way all the way back to the black room. That way I can develop the remaining 2 rolls of film that we have. Now, one of those rolls of film is just going to be a combination to one of the letter locks that was on a locker here in the police station, but I've already unlocked those because I kind of just brute forced them. The other roll of film that we picked up in the sewers is going to be the more interesting of the 2. And like I mentioned earlier, that roll of film is going to be the one that contains the locations of hidden items in the police station. One of those hidden items is going to be a crate of weapons parts that we're going to be using. The other one is going to be some extra ammunition for the spark shot. Now, I don't really care about the extra ammunition for the spark shot because I sparingly use it at best anyway, but the weapons parts are kind of a cool thing I want to pick up. And I am still taking it kind of slow in certain parts of the police station because even though Mr. X is no longer available to be chasing us through the hallways, there are still lickers just climbing the walls and hanging out on the ceiling and all that other good stuff, just waiting to hear us running through the hallway so they can run at us, cut off our heads, pounce on us, all that good stuff. And I would really rather not deal with them, so I am going to creep through certain areas of the police station. Alright, here we go, the hiding place photographs. And they're kind of vague, but if you've wandered around the police station enough, you will probably recognize one or both of these photographs. And if not, you're going to just wander around the police station looking at desks and shelves until you see items that are familiar in those photographs. Now, the top photo is going to be from the STARS office. It's going to be in Albert Wesker's old office, where we picked up the battery for the C4 detonator. And if you open one of those desk drawers is where you're going to find the wooden crate full of the weapons parts. And the bottom photograph of a shelf that happens to have a radio on top of it. That's going to be back in the press room in the dark, bloody hallway of doom that we started off going through at the very beginning of our time in the police station. So we're going to be going to both of those locations, getting their hidden items, and then we're going to get out of here. The very first stop that we are going to be making in order to get one of those hidden items is going to be in the STARS office. It's directly in our path, so that just makes the most sense. Whenever we get in there, we go into the individual office and check the desk. We're going to find that wooden crate, and inside it is going to be a weapon part, and that's going to be an extended magazine for our submachine gun. I believe it will boost the amount of rounds that you can carry in that weapon up to 50, which the submachine gun will just burn through ammunition very quickly, so any amount of an extension to the amount that its magazine can carry is going to be pretty useful. And that will also be the very last upgrade for the submachine gun, I believe. In fact, I think there's only one other weapon upgrade in the entire game left for us to find. And that's going to be for the spark shot, and that's going to be basically at the very end of the game. So we're getting to the point of the game where there's really not going to be too much more detouring. It's pretty much going to be going from one objective to the other with only really minor deviations, if any at all. All of that will really start to kick in the moment we get out of this police station again. Which I did take a moment to read the description on the extended magazine for the submachine gun, and yeah, I was right. The capacity that it extends the ammunition you can carry up to is going to be 50 rounds. Oh, I just realized something. Besides the hidden item, there is one other thing that we need to go pick up because I completely forgot about it earlier. Well, I didn't forget about it. Actually, I made a point to even point out that I was going to be coming back for it later. I'm going to be going all the way back to the interrogation room. Whenever we were there previously, we saw a licker burst through the glass of the interrogation room and we just kind of fled out of there and didn't investigate any further. The thing is, there's still more stuff in that room. And now that we've been away a little while, the licker should be just chilling on a wall or the ceiling, and we might be able to sneak by without that being an issue. And even if it is an issue, we do need to go pick up those items just to be thorough about our long playthrough. And I already know what's in there, so I'll go ahead and just elaborate on that as we're making our way to that location, but there is going to be a document in the interrogation room on the other side that we couldn't get to prior to the licker breaking out. And whenever you read that document, it has a little post-it note on it that gives you the combination to another safe here in the police station. And it's a safe that we have not opened yet. So we'll go ahead and get that combination, find the safe it is related to, open it. We will get the item inside. Then we'll go ahead and get the hidden sure shot ammunition. And then we will be done in the police station for good. I do think it's cool that the game gives us the option to eventually return to the police station later in the game. And that's especially considering how hectic the police station can be in the early portions of the game, especially with people like Mr. X. So here later in the game, we get to return with much better weapons, and we can kind of sweep through any opponents that were here previously that we either had to run from or just did not want to risk fighting against. And then we get to rummage around the police station for items that we previously did not know were there, or possibly just didn't have the opportunity to return to and get previously. And as nice as it is to get some weapons parts to upgrade our available weapons, I don't normally return to the police station in any playthroughs where I'm trying to get a decent time, because that's just not going to happen if you go out of your way to return here. I mean, sure, the weapons parts are nice, but you really do not need them. And if you remove that from consideration, there's really only ammunition here for you to find. And okay, there you are. Now, we should not aggravate the licker when we pass through here, but just in case, I want to make sure I know exactly where he's hanging out. But anyway, I was talking about how the only real incentive to return to the police station are a couple of weapons parts and some ammunition. So unless you just really want to see Marvin again and you did not see him before we left, yeah, there's not really a whole lot of a reason to return to the police station unless you just really want to explore. Now, fortunately, this is a long playthrough, and exploring and trying to see all the things that we can see is kind of the point, but in subsequent playthroughs, especially the ones wherever I'm trying to get a really competitive time for that S+ ranking, you may not see me return here again. Now, I will probably do the exact same thing, return to the police station as Leon in his second scenario, but that will likely be the very last time that I backtrack to this location. But with that explanation out of the way, we got to the other side of the interrogation room and picked up the document that we needed without getting attacked by the licker. And that document was a confiscation report, and that report contained the combination to the safe that I'm going to now. Now, that report was dated August 14, 1998, and it listed a location in the RPD, the second floor waiting room. And it said, reason for confiscation. A suspicious man was found at the location listed above. When confronted by an officer, he tried to escape by acting confused, but he was arrested. A note that he had on him was confiscated. And then there is a remarks section. It's not like everyone doesn't already know who it is. It's Justin Hansen, age 39, city resident, single, and a regular fixture in our jail. He wasn't a bad guy per se, just a bit of a jailbird kleptomaniac. Can't believe he tried to pull a fast one in a police station, of all places. Which on that document was a scrap of paper that was left inside of a plastic bag. On that document was the combination we needed to the safe in the second floor waiting room. And that combination was 6211. And whenever we used that and opened the safe, we found a high-capacity magazine for the JMB HP3 handgun. It's the same one we got out of the trunk of the police car earlier. So yeah, that document contained the name of somebody that may sound familiar from previously in this playthrough, and that was Justin Hansen. That was the same individual we found in the morgue, and whenever he pulled out his slab, he ended up having the diamond key as well. So yeah, his kleptomania has come in handy for us on multiple occasions, allowing us to get that key and now this magazine. For a guy we never got to meet in life, I'm happy he was around because he was quite useful. So I did make a quick pit stop to one of the storage chests, and it just took a moment to pull out the handgun and then combine that with the new extended magazine that we found. But now that we are done doing that, we are heading to the last of the hidden items in the police station. So yay, we get to see the bloody Hall of Doom one more time. We even get the opportunity to take down one of the many zombies that were chasing us through this area at the beginning of the game. I think he's going to be the only one that's not currently stuck in the office area, so... Actually, I take that back. He has some company. so we may not get the opportunity to take down every single zombie that caused us problems back at the very beginning of the game, but at least we will get the satisfaction of seeing these two hit the ground. Well, maybe. Even though there are only 2 of them, they are just eating the bullets at this point. And it is definitely taking more effort than I originally thought it was going to take these 2 down. I mean, surely the amount of handgun ammo that I have is going to be enough for this, but they are really making me go through my entire supply at this point. Well, alright, it definitely does not get more confirmably dead than a head explosion, which is pretty awesome. That just leaves the other zombie on the ground, and that's 2 head explosions in a row. Alright, awesome. I think that's going to be the last of them. I will check the closet to make sure I'm not going to get surprised later on and also pick up a little bit more handgun ammo. But yeah, we are in the clear. It's time to go get that hidden item. And on the way, I'll make sure I reload every single gun that I have because the zombies just refused to die and just kept eating all the ammunition I had and just wasting my time. And then we go into the press room and go to the hidden area, which is going to be just a little shelf over here. You can see which one it is because it's the one with the radio on it. And then we open it up and then we get the extra ammunition for the spark shot. And that is going to be the very last of my detouring around the police station. From here I'm going back to the secret passageway and we're returning to the sewers. Okay, the hallway is pretty dark and I got a little turned around there and I forgot exactly which direction I was facing, but now we're good to go. We're heading to the exit, we're heading to the secret passageway, and now we're going to the sewers. And as you exit the building, be sure to say goodbye to Marvin and thank him for all the good times you had together. After that, though, say so long to the Raccoon Police Station. Thanks for all the near-death experiences, nearly killing me and also killing about half the still-alive people that we have met since being here. You will not be missed, and I will only revisit you several more times on subsequent playthroughs. I'm joking around, but I do really enjoy the police station as it is designed in this remake. It is a really good setting, and I like the layout of the challenges, which is great considering half the game or more takes place in that location. And I do think it will be fun getting somewhat of a different perspective on the station when I do pick up Scenario 2 with Leon. Now that I have all of the police station hidden items, I'll go ahead and conclude this episode before we return to the sewers. This episode is running a little bit long, so this is probably a good stopping point. So, what happened in this episode? Well, we got to play as Sherry to open up the game, and we managed to stealthily get Sherry out of harm's way for about 15 minutes. But then everything completely fell apart, and we just went back to playing as Claire. Once we were playing as Claire again, we managed to kind of save Sherry. I mean, her abductor, Chief Irons, he died, but then the mutated William Birkin showed up, and now we have to save Sherry from him as well. You know, this game is very quickly just becoming, what do I have to save Sherry from next? No worries though, Sherry, we're here to back you up. Or at least we will eventually have your back, because first we had to get a little bit distracted and go on a side quest for some hidden items that were just forever away from her location. We have all that knocked out now, but it took us so long I'm half expecting to return and find out that Sherry just killed the monster version of William Birkin all by herself because she got tired of waiting. But anyway, the next effort to save Sherry is going to be taking us back into the sewers where we're trying to open up a locked door that is currently separating us. We will be opening up that locked door in the very next episode, and until then, thank you for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out some of the other stuff I have on the Thor's Entertainment channel. I definitely have a bunch of other playthroughs of other video games, so if this is your thing, feel free to check that out. But yeah, until the next episode, take care, and hopefully I'll see you next time.